he doesn't want to demonstrate any willingness for compromises. He believes that Mr. Trump could arrange a pressure on Ukraine.
Did Donald Trump really say that he thought bringing peace to Ukraine would be comparatively quick and easy? What was he thinking? Well, it might have been easy had Ukraine been willing to give up more territory to the Russian invasion, including land Vladimir Putin's army has been unable to conquer 3 years into the war, but they weren't. It seems they aren't. And that plan, drawn up by teams from Russia and America without inviting Ukraine to join the conversation, also suggested billions of euros seized from Russia, money that the European Union would like to help Ukraine wage war and rebuild itself, should end up profiting the United States. Unsurprisingly, European leaders said no to that. Now, in the last hour or two, there has reportedly been a new US-Ukraine plan, 19 points of it. Not enough points, though, to deal with the biggest ones of all, which country controls what areas of territory, for example, and Ukraine's relations with NATO. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking it has all been pretty pointless. But President Trump is reporting great progress. Volodymyr Zelensky is sounding positive too, though presumably he can't afford to get on Donald Trump's bad side. Not after Trump told a journalist Zelensky would have to strike terms or be left to fight his little heart out. And Vladimir Putin, he sits in Moscow, launching wave after wave of strike against Ukraine and seeing how far he can persuade President Trump to take his side and force everyone else to offer Russia concessions. Now, in the last hour, Moscow has spoken, and Moscow has dismissed European proposals as completely unconstructive. What do you think? Could Putin be stringing everyone along again? What do you think? Send me a text, 87222. Start with the word Times, or a tweet to @TimesRadio. We're going to keep you up to date. Certainly going to try to do that. I wonder if you are optimistic about peace. Now, earlier, I did speak to Senator Hélène Conway-Moutet, the Vice President of France's Defence Committee, and she explained the problems with the Europeans' approach.
Us Europeans are still using an old way of diplomacy, thinking that we can take our time and construct something. And yet, I think we are just advanced by the speed of decision by Donald Trump, and not to forget that he has dismantled his security administration, and that today discussions are being made on a bilateral basis. I think there are more and more proofs coming out that the deal was in fact the Russian proposal, translated into English, and then the Europeans react to that. But the question I would like to ask is, where was the European plan to start with? Why are we not starting from the 19-point European plan and having the Russians coming to the negotiation table to discuss it?
It's the French Senator Hélène Conway-Moutet. Now, let's welcome to the show Alex Ward of the Wall Street Journal, security correspondent there. Hi to you, Alex.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, good to have you here. So you're watching this story unfold hour by hour. Do you see any reason, Alex, to believe that we are any closer to an agreement on a Ukraine deal?
No, not particularly. I mean, I think what we can say for sure is that there was a lull in the process, and one thing Donald Trump likes is to break lulls. And so now he didn't purposely do this one. This leaked into the press, and then it all spun out from there. But it became pretty clear quite quickly that when the administration took the reins of that crisis, once it leaked, they went, yes, this is our plan, and we're going to go ahead and push this on the Ukrainians and see what can happen. Now, the Ukrainians were not happy with the initial plan because it tilted quite strongly towards the Russian position. And now, after negotiations with the Ukrainians, it seems to have tilted back a bit more in their direction, which leads to the question, would the Russians accept that? And most likely not. So I think we're not at square one, let's say, but we're at square 1.1. So maybe we're technically closer, but certainly nowhere close.
I want to go dive back again into the detail of all the comings and goings and back and fro that we've seen over these past 48 hours or so. And I want to ask you what you think about the President Trump, and his ultimate motive here. Now, he says he wants to end the war and stop the killing. Let us say that he does want to stop the killing and end the war. But what do you think he wants to see emerge by way of a new balance of power and Russia's place in that balance of power?
I think you're giving him a bit too much credit. I think the President Trump mainly wants the killing to end, and that's it. He doesn't really care how. If it favors Ukraine, great. If it favors Russia, great. He just doesn't care. He wants the war to end so he can get it off of his plate and claim it as one of his long list of wars he claims to have ended, so he can make a Nobel Peace Prize campaign, or at least bolster that campaign that he's openly waged. But I think one thing that's been clear so far is that Trump believes that the stronger power has to concede less. And so the way we're seeing this play out is right now most of the pressure has been on Ukraine. There's been some on Russia, but mostly on Ukraine. And right now the Trump administration believes it's the Ukrainians who have to make the broader concessions. And what the inducements that they're trying to give to both sides is effectively the Ukrainians want reconstruction funds and Russia wants reintegration to the global community through joining the G8
Yes.
and economic projects with the US. So at the end of the day, what you get is a weakened Ukraine rebuilding and a reintegrated Russia, which ultimately favors Moscow.
So do you then, Alex, not buy into the theory that what the president wants ultimately is a business relationship with Russia, doing business, trade deals on minerals in the Arctic, on other forms of trade, and to see the world divided into spheres of influence? You know the theory, you've heard it a million times. Spheres of interest overseen by respective strongmen in different hemispheres. Him in the Americas, Putin with a powerful place in Europe, and of course Xi in the East. A carve-up of that kind. Do you not accept that theory?
I think there are some people in the Trump administration that think that way, but I bet if you asked Donald Trump what does the phrase spheres of influence mean, I don't think he would know it. He doesn't think in those terms. He thinks very concretely in terms of transactions. And in this case, for him it makes no sense to him why Ukraine would keep on fighting when it is the weaker power and when it is getting overtaken. And he sort of understands why Russia would do it because they want it. And Trump has been open about that. He goes, it's the apple of his eye. Now, I don't want, he goes, I don't want Putin to take it, but I sort of get why he's doing it. So what he wants here is some sort of plan to end it. And I'll take the point. Of course, Trump has been open about wanting business deals. This plan is open about wanting business deals with the Russians. But we should also note that pretty much Trump's solution to any situation is business inducements or tariff reductions. Vice President J.D. Vance recently said that the Trump doctrine is using American economic leverage to induce peace. And so, yes, there is a desire for Russian business deals, but part of that stems from Trump's own view that if Russia got more economic involvement with the West, then that would get him to stop bombing Ukraine.
All right, great to get your thoughts, Alex. Thank you so much. Alex Ward there from the Wall Street Journal. Now, I am very happy to welcome to Drive Mikhail Kasyanov, the former Prime Minister of Russia during Putin's first term as president. Welcome to you.
Good evening.
Good evening to you. I'm just talking there about the ultimate ambitions of Donald Trump. Could you just enlighten us on what you see as the ultimate ambitions of Vladimir Putin when it comes to Ukraine? Is he in the business, do you think, of drawing a line and then agreeing to stay on the Russian side of it, no more threat to what is left of sovereign Ukraine? Or does he want a ceasefire and a peace to regroup and prepare for another, more successful attack in future?
Yeah, Mr. Putin definitely wants to destroy Ukraine. He doesn't want just independent Ukraine with the orientation of with NATO and European Union exists. And just they should not be example for Russians to see just how the Ukrainians develop their country. That's issue number one. And secondly, he wants to be respected by the world. He wants to sit down together with the president of the United States and discuss the future on the world. And the fate of nations of the world, and that is he got a little of such a respect when in Alaska, and he was very much satisfied with such a reception. And now he's raising stakes. In fact, he facing problems internally. I mean, economic problems, financial problems, but he doesn't want to demonstrate any willingness for compromises. He believes that Mr. Trump could arrange a pressure on Ukraine, having in mind that Ukraine in a weak position, and Mr. Trump permanently saying that Zelensky has no cards on his hands. And Putin believes that Trump would play on thinking about transactions and he opening some kind of opportunities for developing new resources in the Arctic and other spheres, etc.
Yeah.
And that's why he believes that could be successful. And he continues for attrition, although he facing himself problems, especially as a result of future upcoming results of new sanctions, which Mr. Trump imposed. That was the only sanctions imposed, the only pressure imposed on Putin by Trump. That is oil sanctions for two biggest companies. That is in the upcoming 2-3 months, we will start seeing just a considerable reduction of inflow to Putin's budget.
Right. Well, that is obviously interesting. And if, in your judgment, Vladimir Putin's ambitions are ultimately aggressive, what sort of deal should Ukraine be seeking? What could guarantee Ukraine's territory and Ukraine's sovereignty?
I think this, as a result of Geneva negotiations, some kind of proposals were developed acceptable for Ukraine. That was not, of course, not those 28 points, which was presented as Trump's proposal. I don't believe that the U.S. administration or any European government could support such a plan of 28 points, which was passed on to Ukrainian government. Of course, that was just the list of Putin's wishes. And in fact, that was encouragement of aggressor, and just forget about impunity. There's something like that. There's transactions, and someone wanted to make money on the Ukrainian weak position. Absolutely unacceptable. The list of 28 points. Now, as I can see, just all those leaks and statements from Ukrainian delegation, that what they developed together with the U.S. representatives in Geneva, 17 or whatever, 18 points, that could be acceptable, but it's not will be accepted by Putin.
No.
Doesn't want just ceasefire. He doesn't want the just agreement.
In which case, how is Ukraine and those who are supporting Ukraine, how are they to guarantee Ukraine's security?
That's right now the point is so that President Trump would again switch on or step in Ukrainian position, Ukrainian support position. That's why, just as I heard just Prime Minister Meloni and the President of Finland, Stubb, going to meet President Trump this week, so that not to create just any anger on Ukraine, but trying to support those proposals, which will not be accepted by Putin's team, by Putin himself. Putin needs capitulation of Ukraine, but this new plan, which developed yesterday and this morning, today morning, that is the plan of real, just agreement, ceasefire, and further negotiations on comprehensive peace plan, peace agreement.
Do you then believe that Ukraine's friends in Europe, principally friends in Europe, are capable and willing to help provide the sort of protection, security guarantee that might protect Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire?
I'm sure just all European leaders already reconfirmed several times they are ready to support Ukraine. They're ready to provide security guarantees, subject to be backed by US in general terms, not necessarily direct participation, but backed. That's what I think they're all dreaming about. And even Ukrainians said, just we can pay to the United States for their support of these security guarantees, which will be in place provided by European governments.
Okay, challenge there to those European leaders. Mikhail Kasyanov, former Prime Minister of Russia, thank you for sharing your thoughts on the programme today.